Okay, hey y'all, welcome to For the Sake of a Generation podcast. I'm so excited for this episode today. It's our very first video call episode, but it is also with one of my best friends from school. She is the sweetest. Her name is Noel Watkins, and I just love her so much. Noel, thank you for being our first guest to come on a video call and brave the unknown waters with us.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. I feel so honored. When you asked me, I was like 100% yes. I was like 100%.
I
So
love
this
it.
is so sweet for me.
Yeah, I love it. So Noelle and I met through our church at school, Harvest House. Shout out Harvest House, we love you.
Shout
And
out.
but yeah, it's been so sweet, just a Christ-centered relationship, and you're such a blessing to my life. So I'm excited for you to bless other people as well. But I want to
Love
start
you.
out with the question of the podcast, which is if you could give one piece of advice or say one thing to the next generation of believers, what would that be?
Yeah. So I think when I found out that was the question, I was asking the Lord, I was like, Lord, what would you want to tell them? Like, what's your heart in this? And I really felt him say, so he's been teaching me a lot about what I'm about to say. But he was like, tell them that, because this is something I'm learning. Like, this is what I want to live by. This is what I want to be known for. This is what I need to get in my mind to live the way that he wants me to live. And so he said, I want them to bury Luke 9:23 through 26 in their heart.
Mm,
And so Luke 9, 20, 23 through 26. It's whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up
mm,
their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? And so that verse, it's just completely shifted how I live.
mm.
It's a big part of my testimony, what we're going to talk about. It's a big part of
Yeah.
that. I would just tell them that has to click. That
Mhm.
verse has to be so buried in your heart, and just it has to be reality. You have to walk in that, because life with him, it's straight and narrow, but it's so beautiful and it's so good.
Yeah.
And it's there's so much beauty in picking up your cross for him, because he's so
Yeah.
worth it. Because we're crucified with him, so we need to pick up our cross. So I would just say get used to picking up your cross, because it's so beautiful, and it's the path. So it's you're not just picking it up and just going wherever. When you pick it up, the destination is to something beautiful,
Mm.
and it's to something of him. So I would just say pick up your cross and enjoy the destination that it will take you
Mm.
to.
I love that. I love that because it's also like I can see that in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like I can
Mm-hmm.
see that the Lord has put that on your heart and that you're doing everything in your will to like live that out and to pick up your cross personally. And I love that you're not just sharing that with others, but you're living that out yourself. And I'm so excited to talk about what you have coming up. I think that's going to be
Me
so
too.
great. But first, I want to talk about your intimacy with Jesus because I think that we can't talk about the decision that you've made without talking about the root of that, which is your love for Jesus. And when I think of you, that's something I think about is like you always talk about your relationship with the Lord as if He is your very best friend, your very first love, because He truly is for you. And so I just want you to say, like, who is Jesus to you, and how has that image of Jesus changed and developed throughout your life?
Yeah. Wow. Well, first off, he's my everything. I think, just to share a little snapshot of my testimony, he really changed a lot for me in high school. So I grew up going to a private Christian school. Literally I went to the same school from EE, diapers, all the way to graduation cap. And so
Yeah.
I was always hearing the name of Jesus. I was always hearing the gospel. And I think probably around middle school, it really started to become numb to me,
Mm,
who the man was, and what he stood for, and what this good news was. In high school, stuff happened, and I really just lost myself, and just fell into depression and anxiety, and not wanting to be here anymore, and just really the enemy just really set up camp. And then I went to this conference, and like I feel like when I like share my testimony, I always say I met the Lord for real at that
Mm-hmm.
conference, because like I'd known him my whole life. Like I knew, that he was a man that lived, a few thousand years ago. And like I knew, like I could like spout off like all the right things and like make it
Right.
seem like I knew what I was doing. But like that night, that was the first night that I encountered the Spirit, like the
Mm.
Holy Spirit, and
Yeah.
like actually met the man for real, like
Come
actually
on.
met Jesus, actually like there was actual heart transformation, and it wasn't just like, something that didn't have any, like I was seeing fruit.
Right.
Um, and so it's changed, and it really, I think it was 2019 was when I was saved.
Mm.
And so starting in 2019, like the Lord started to birth a lot of like passion for ministry and like passion for like the next generation and like
Yeah.
for kids. And looking back, he even birthed a passion for worship, which I didn't see back then.
Come on.
Um, and so like he just had his way with me. Like he just waxed me with his glory and just like had his way. And so I think 2019 was where it really started. And then he just started to just like purify me
Mm.
and teach me and guide me. And it's really sweet, because when you give him your yes, like you're just giving him your heart, and like everything else will fall into place. Like slowly, like things just started to fall off
Mm.
of me. um and that's just his goodness. But I think like it was around then where there was a real authentic relationship, and I'm like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, like this guy is my father, he's my friend, he's like righteous anger God, like he like wants the best for me, he fights for me, he
Mm.
is also my comforter, he also holds me when I'm upset and crying, he has fun with me, he like gives me surprises, like he all is like every aspect of him started to come to life, where I'm like, he's not just this man in the sky, like he's not
Yeah.
just an angry God. And so then intimacy started to form of
Come
like
on.
spending time with him, and like also spending time with him like outside of my word, like or outside of his word, because yes, like that needs to happen, but like going to the parkway with him, or like going and getting coffee with him. I did that one time, it was really fun. Like I ordered him a whole coffee and I wrote Jesus on it.
I love
But
that.
like just doing stuff with him, and like inviting him into the daily, and like a lot of that started in college, I feel like. But like when I got saved was when, oh my gosh, like I can have like like a relationship like I have with you, but I
Right.
can have it with him like all the
Wow.
time, and it doesn't
Yeah.
waver. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but it's been so sweet. And it's just, and I think even now I'm like still learning like what intimacy with him looks like. I think
Right.
it's an ongoing journey. Like you never stop
100%.
learning
Yeah.
what intimacy with him is like, because it's like there's always more to unlock with him. Like and like creating history with him. Like it's just, you just get to forever like find out what intimacy with him looks like, which is so sweet.
Yeah, that is so sweet. I love that. Then I also want to talk about something which you actually taught on, but I think you live this out as well, is like what it looks like to walk in sonship with Jesus, and what that means to you, like the spirit of adoption. I just want you to share your heart, on that because I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think living in sonship or daughtership, is just like it's just like knowing you're in right standing with him. Like
Right?
you don't have to strive. You don't have
Mhm.
to like, and it makes me emotional because it's like I was stuck in the place of, well, let me like, so sonship is like, you're in right standing. Like you don't have to strive. You get to abide with him, and then like the orphan spirit is like you feel like you have to measure up and like
Mm.
comparison, and like just like you're fighting for something that you don't think is yours. And I think I love that topic because I lived in the orphan spirit for so long.
Mhm.
um and I like claimed it, and I like lived in it for so long. And I finally got freedom from it pretty recently, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a daughter,
Mm.
like I'm in right standing, like I don't have to. like come to him all put together, or I don't have
Yeah.
to say all the right things or do all the right things, or even like appearance wise, like I can like come to him like completely falling apart, like not showered and like things like that. Like I don't have to be a certain way for him. And I also think it's just knowing he accepts you how you are. Like it's just like knowing you're just you can just come to him and just be with him.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's such a sweet and freeing thing because I think the orphan spirit is such from the enemy, and he wants to bring separation, and he just wants to like make you feel like you're not fit for him,
Yeah.
like you're not fit for the kingdom, but like you're like a daughter, like a princess of the Most High King, or a
Mhm.
son, or a prince. And so I think it's just knowing like you're his and he's yours, and just walking in that. And I think also like walking in that is like also walking in that like with your friendships too. Like there's so many
Mhm.
layers to it. Um, but it's like I taught on it, but it's like being unoffendable. Like it's
Yeah.
not like having your defenses up all the time. It's being vulnerable. It's living in the light.
It's
It's
good.
what else? Um that's a big one. It's living in the light. Like
Yeah.
it's being honest. It's stepping into conflict well. It's just like it's honestly living like him, which is what we're called to do, but
Mm.
it's just living in the light. That's a big
Yeah,
one.
that's so good. I love
Yeah.
that. That actually reminds me of a vision the Lord gave me that I kind of
Come on.
I wrote down, and I haven't thought about it much more, and I was like, I'm probably not ever going to share this, but it the Lord brought it back to my mind, and I think this is such a beautiful image of what it looks like to walk out that adoption. And I didn't even really relate it to that in the moment, but the vision was this. I It was like me. I was like this woman, and I had on, like, ripped clothes, like, almost like a like burlap, like a sack
Wow.
almost, just, like, super poor and dirty. I was disgusting, and, no one would talk to me, no one would have anything to do with me because I was so dirty, and I smelled bad, and, like, all of the things. No one wanted to be seen with me. But I would sit outside the king's palace just because I was like, something about this, like, no one tells me to leave here. No one talks to me, but no one tells me to leave here either. And so I just feel like peace about being here. And it was just where I sat. And the king came out and he said, "Come inside with me." And I said, "Listen, you don't understand. Like, I smell so bad. I'm so dirty. Like, you don't want me to come
Wow.
inside. Nobody lets me come inside. Why would you, the king, let me inside?" And so I like refused, and he asked me multiple times, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Please come inside with me." And so I could tell like I was upsetting him. And so I got up and I went inside with him, and everything in the house was completely white. Everything from the carpets to the furniture to the walls, like everything was white, and I was just covered in filth. And he was like, "Come sit with me." And I was like, "You do not want me to sit here. Like, I'm gonna make everything dirty." And he was like, "No, come sit with me." And I was like, "Listen, you don't want me to." And on the third time, he asked me again, and I could tell that it was breaking his heart. And so I sat with him, and he was like, "I just want you to sit here with me." And I was like, "But why? Like, I don't have anything to give you. Like, I have nothing for you." And he's like, "I just want you." And so I sat there with him. Um, and I remember just thinking, like, I don't deserve to be here. And when I got up after spending time with him, I stood up and the carpet was still white where I had sat. And I said, "What happened? Like, how is this possible?" And he said, "I will make you clean." And I said, "But I'm still not clean." Like, I was looking at myself and I was dirty. And he was like, "No, but you're clean. When I see you, you're clean." And that's what now I'm realizing, like, the way I was viewing myself as dirty and my clothes were awful
Mm.
and all of those things, like, I was operating out of a spirit of an orphan. But in reality, I was a daughter all along. I just didn't realize it. And so I think that we can be a daughter and never realize that we're a daughter, or live our
Oh my
whole
gosh.
life with that orphan spirit of like, I don't deserve to be here, so I'm just not going to. When really he's saying, all I want is for you to sit with me. I've already made you right. I've already made you clean. I just want you to
Oh my
be with
goodness.
me now. And I never related those two things in my head, but I think that is so cool that the Lord just brought it back to my mind to
Yeah.
share that now.
Wow. No, that's like the perfect picture for
Yeah.
it. Because I
Yeah.
think like from day one you're a daughter, but it's like
Mhm.
believing it is like, I think, because I was introduced to the orphan spirit daughtership sonship concept at the school that I'm going to,
Yeah.
but um the example or what he said was like, you have to get it from like your head to your heart. Like that's
Mm.
like was his main thing, is like you have to realize it, like it has to
Yeah.
click.
Yeah.
Because you're always one, like you're always a daughter, you're always a son of the Most High King. Like nothing can strip that away from you. But it's like you have to walk in it, like you have to
Mm.
live it and like know it, you know.
Right.
And so that's just like the most beautiful like picture. And I
Mm.
think I'm such a visual person, so like being able to like hear you say that and see it play out in my head,
Right.
like it just makes it sink in like that much
Yeah.
more. That's so good.
I know, and
Oh
it's
my
like for me,
gosh.
like I remember all those feelings too of like seeing the white and being like, oh gosh, like I definitely can't be here. Like if I could be inside at all, I definitely
Mm-hmm.
can't be here. And I think about the purity and the holiness of God, and it's like, oh, but like if my friends won't even accept me, then you definitely won't. And
Yeah.
that's crazy because, like I said, I didn't even relate that in my head, and that was months ago. And the Lord's just bringing it
That's
back to me now. That's so
powerful.
sweet. Yeah,
That's so powerful.
I love
And
that.
it's so good too, because it's like the enemy like
Hmm.
telling you, because the orphan spirit, it's like the enemy just like saying all these lies over you and you
Yeah,
believing
right.
like you're not worthy of love, like compare yourself to this person, like all of these things. And like it's it's cool because in your vision, like you were believing the lies of the enemy of like,
Mm,
I'm not worthy of going into this house, like I'm not worthy of sitting and dining with this man. But
mhm.
it's like the Lord is always louder than those things. And
Yeah,
so it's just cool seeing it that play out in your vision of like the, I think, you know, the man in the vision was the Lord, but like him being persistent and still chasing after you and saying,
right.
hey, you're actually clean. Like we're not even gonna like entertain or believe those lies. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, it's so good.
It's so good, and I think also, like, for me, it was such a thing of, like, his heart for me. Like, I remember that feeling of the tears coming to his eyes, and I was like, "Oh, shoot, he actually cares about me," you know? And I think sometimes we can view God as far off or as, like,
Yeah.
too big to care about the little things or to sit at a coffee shop with you. Like, I think we can view him as far off instead of the intimate God and the like, because that removes the relationship he wants to have with us. Like we can't
Yeah.
have that when we think he's in some other state and he can't like sit with us. And so I think that vision also like reminded me of that of like his how much he truly cares, I guess. Like as
Mm-hmm.
Abba Father, like how much he
Yeah.
truly cares. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, that's just his heart. Whoa, thank you, Lord, for that. That is so good.
I'm so glad he brought that to my mind because I
Yeah.
just did not even remember that. Um, I had it
That's
written
good.
down, so I'm thankful for that, but I had not even thought about it again. Um, and the other
So
thing I wanted
good.
to talk about is like your love for the creator, like being truly in love with him. And that can't coexist with that feeling I was talking about of feeling like we're far off or disconnected from him. And so I just wanted you to maybe speak to the person who feels like the father is disconnected or he's too big to care about their little feelings or things like that. What would you say to the person who's living out those lies?
Mm, yeah. I would just say to them like, mm, that's so hard because like I was
Mhm.
once there.
Yeah.
Mm, wow. Mm. I would say to them like he's so near, like he's closer than your skin, and like he's so after your heart. And I think you know feelings and things like that are so from the Lord. And I think the enemy loves to rob us of that, and so sometimes it's hard to like judge our proximity and closeness with the Lord based off of our feelings. And so I would say like if you're not feeling him, like that's okay. Cause like I love when I like can physically feel the Lord. Like when you were
Yeah.
talking, like I felt chills on my body. Like I know that was the
Yeah.
spirit. Like I love when I can like tangibly feel him.
Right.
But if I don't, like it's okay.
Mhm.
Like if you don't feel him or if you don't feel him near, like it's okay. Because I think I have to preach this to myself all the time. Like it's faith over feeling and like it's faith over fear. And like those are two really big ones. But
Yeah.
um like I would say if you don't feel him, like it's okay. Like continue to draw near to him. And sometimes that can be so hard. Like sometimes even for me, like I really have to die to my flesh. Like even if
Mhm.
I'm like super tired and I don't want to like write to him, or I'm like
Yeah.
I have to die to my flesh. And so I would say you have to like push through, like you can do it. Like
Mhm.
the Lord sees like your effort towards him and he sees your heart, and it's like he does not like not answer you ever. Like he
Yeah.
always comes through. He's always on time. He like if you ask for what's that verse? If you ask for bread, like he won't give you a stone. Like he's
Yeah.
going to like deliver like when you need him, and it's like he sees you. And I think one thing, and this can be kind of a hard thing, it's been something I've had to swallow, of like sometimes if I can't hear him, it's because things in my life are louder than him.
Mhm.
And so like ask him like, Lord, like what is it that I'm needing to like put away for a minute? Like it could
That's
be your
good.
phone, like it could be like hanging out with friends, like, and it doesn't have to be super extreme things, but like sometimes when I can't hear him, like that's because things in my life are louder than him.
Right.
And so I would just say like you gotta get a ooh yeah, you gotta get alone with him. Like you
Mm.
gotta go see him in secret. You gotta shut the door and you gotta go and spend time with him. And like even like writing to him, like even if you just like get a journal and like write to him your heart, like he'll answer.
Yeah.
Like I've had to do that before, um, of like not knowing really where to start with him. And so I'll start from like point A to point B, like, Lord, this is how I'm feeling, this is why, like I need your help, like I need you, like I don't know what to do, I'm lost, da da da, all the things. And
Mhm.
then by the end, I'm filled with so much peace and comfort because he answered me in between the lines.
Wow. That's
And
so good.
so I would just say like you gotta press in, like you gotta like combat like your flesh, and like even if you're not wanting to, like have to
Mm.
talk to him and speak to him. And like even like I would say the big thing like getting your word, like go to Psalms, like
Mm.
read about like even like in Genesis, like reading about how he created things, like this
Yeah.
even like starting somewhere, like his word is alive and active, so I promise it'll speak to you. Um, and so I know it's so hard to feel disconnected from him, but like I'm just speaking over you, like to the person that feels that way, like no longer,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Lord is going to meet you there. And it's like, he's going to just speak to you. I pray like, yeah, Lord, I just pray for the person
Mm.
who just feels so distant from you, Lord, that
Yeah.
feels like you're far, that feels like they can't hear you. I pray that you tune their ears up to you, Lord. I pray that when they open their word, that the words just jump off the page, Lord. I
Mm.
pray that you begin to speak to them through nature, through their friends, just through little things. You're in the mundane and you're in the big, Lord. And so I just pray that you just begin to speak to them and bring comfort to their hearts, and that they're not too far gone. They're not too far for you,
Yeah.
because you go after the one, Lord. And so I just prophesy that over the listeners, that like they're gonna hear you, Lord, and they're gonna hear you clearly. I pray for clarity and no misunderstandings,
Come
Lord.
on.
I thank you that you are near. You're closer than our skin, Father, and I thank you um, that you're just so kind that you're just not gonna not show up. Like you
Yeah.
show up every time, and you're just an on time God. Um, and so I just declare that over the listeners, and I thank you in advance for the way that they're going to hear you. And
Yeah.
I just love you, Lord. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. I love that. I love that. I think that's so good. And I think also something that's always helpful to me is to remember that he is the same God that's from the Bible, and that his character is
Come
never
on.
changing, that he is always going to be the things that scripture says he is. He's always going to be the things I've experienced in the past. Cause sometimes that's even harder, is like when you've experienced being so close to him before, but you feel like that's been stripped from you, but to realize that I'm serving the same God. And so, it's often he hasn't left. It's often us who's inconsistent or whatever. But just to look back and remember that like he is the same God that he always has been, and he's not gonna stop
Mm-hmm.
being that God now. I think if you're feeling like God is distant, that's something so important to remember. Like he's never gonna
Yeah.
switch up on you.
Yeah. One.
Yeah, it's good.
Pretty good.
Okay, now we're gonna talk about this big decision that you have made. And it, like I said, it came out of your overflow, out of the overflow of your love for Jesus, out of the overflow of your relationship with him in the secret place, and um just the conversation and the dialogue that you keep going with him. And I want to acknowledge that because that's so sweet and that's where it all started. But do you want to just share a little bit about the step you're about to take, and kind of the process of making the decision to lean into that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The Lord is taking me on a wild ride, y'all. So should I just start from like the beginning and kind of do a little overview?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Anything you want to
Okay.
tell, I want to hear it.
Okay, cool. Um, so this literally, this, what I'm about to say has been my Luke 9:23 through
Yeah,
25.
yeah.
Um, so in December, the Lord gave me the opportunity. It's cool because he always gives you like invitations to things you can either say yes or no. And so he gave me the opportunity to go to a conference in Fort Worth, Texas with literally a woman I've just met. If you know Celia Marsh, shout out.
We
She's
love
the best
her.
ever. She's a mom, she's a sister, she's a bestie, she's awesome.
Yeah.
But I literally had just met her. I'd known her for maybe 2 weeks.
Mm.
And she extended the invitation to me and one of my best friends, Bianca, to go to a conference. And I was like, okay, Lord, like, let me pray about it. Let me see.
Okay, sorry guys. We had technical difficulties, so we had to stop the recording and start over, but we're back. And Noelle was in the middle of her story about her and her friend Bianca getting invited to go to Texas for a conference. So,
Yes, we're back. So we plead the blood over this technical
amen.
stuff.
Amen.
But yeah, so this lady that me and Bianca had just met, Celia, she got a word from the Lord to invite us to this conference slash school preview thing in Fort Worth. And I was like, okay, sounds really fun. It's a week off of school. It'd be great. I had like no expectation, and I had to work through a little bit with the Lord of like whether to go or not,
Mm,
because it fell like during my birthday. So I was like selfishly, I'm like, Lord, like I would love to be with my friends. Like I would love to be in Boone, which is where I live.
yeah.
It's home. And so I had to work through a lot of things. Um, and the Lord just had to work on my heart because I could feel Him calling me into something, and I had the choice of whether to say yes or no, whether to do what I want to do or whether to submit. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I'll go. And it's so funny because that little yes, like literally, like changed the trajectory of my life. Um, and so and it's really cool because like when the Lord tells you to do something, like, and you're kind of on your way to that thing, like he'll confirm and like it'll just like fold out, like he'll just roll out the red carpet.
Yeah.
Because like literally, I can't remember the date, but it was the conference slash preview thing fell during exam week, and I was like,
Hmm.
ooh, like, oh, that's kind of bad. I was like, Lord, like, do you really like want me to go and do this like with exams happening? Literally, all of my exams happened after I got back from the trip, and so that
Wow.
was something that just felt like the Lord just like actively making space. Like I
Mm.
can see Him just like clearing the table of
Yeah.
just like, hey, like I'm clearing this out for you. Um, and so I gave my yes and we went, and it was just beautiful. Like seeing the Lord just show up and speak in new ways, and like, y'all, like Dallas, Fort Worth area, like the Lord is just moving really big. And it's really beautiful. And so I went, and like I think it might have been on my birthday. We were there the 3rd through the 8th, I think. So it was on the 5th. where he told me that he wanted me to move there. And I was like, what? I was like, hmm? I was like, let me do that again. Because I'm like currently where I'm at is like I'm a junior. I go to App State. I have like a year and a half left. And so when he gave me that call, when he gave me that invitation, I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. Because I'm like, Lord, like I have a year and a half left. Like if this makes no sense, this makes no sense. Um, and so I kind of like acted like I didn't hear it. I very much put it in the back of my head. And I kind of heard him whispering it to me all day. I was like,
Mm,
I want you here. I want you here. And like even through like people and things, it just felt like a big like come here, like I'm calling you here. And then it was the next day. I was very much wrestling with it, and I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't given my yes. And the Lord speaks to me a lot in worship. He always has, but it's been more clear recently. And so we were in worship one morning. It was that day. I think it was the 6th. But literally the song was like, I think it's by Circuit Riders or Lindy Coper or something, but it says, I will love you with my yes. I will love you with my obedience.
wow.
And it says, it's a joy to lose my life for Jesus Christ, like something like that. Um, and what else does it say? It's just talking about obedience big
Yeah.
time. And I was like, that kind of checks out for like what I'm going through. Um, and the Lord does that a lot. Like he'll bring songs and worship sets and things like that in a very timely manner for me,
Yeah.
because that's how he speaks to me, is through worship. And so I was like, wait a minute. And then I really just like took it to him at that point, and I was like, Lord, like, is this really like what you're calling me to? And then the guy leading, like, I just know the Lord was like telling him what to say. He was like, okay, we are going to, like, he went into it more. And then one of the pastors came up and she was like, I feel like y'all need to physically like get up and march into what you know you need to be obedient to. I was like, what? I was like, that's crazy. That's so on the money. And so she was like, she was like, y'all get up on your feet. And she's like, we're gonna march and we're gonna sing this, and you're going to actively like walk into what you need to be obedient towards,
Wow.
and like what you need to be, like what you need to give your yes to. And so I did it, like I marched into that yes. And like there's something about like moving your body and like actively like stepping into something, because it's like telling
Yeah.
your body to come under like what the Lord's
Mm,
calling you to. And so I was like, okay, I'm marching into it. And
yeah.
that was just that was like a flag in the ground moment for me, of like, that's when I decided, and like when I gave my yes. And like, I wish I could say, yeah, like, and it's just been rainbows and it's been beautiful and it's been great, like,
Yeah.
ever since. But like, it's been rocky. Like, it's been really hard, because it's like when you give a yes, like, the enemy will do whatever he can do to make you take it back. Um, because you're stepping into the will. Like when you're like, here's the will, and when you're in it, like the enemy is just trying to like get you off.
Yeah.
Um, and so I, you know, gave my yes, and I got back home to Boone, and like I was like, okay, Lord, like how do I walk this out? Like, what does this look like? And so it started with like telling my family and telling people close in my corner, like my best friends and stuff. And the Lord has just like taken me on such a journey of like, this is what it looks like to trust me and to pick up your cross. And like, it's okay if the world doesn't agree with you. Like, it's
Mm,
okay if the world says you're crazy and laughs at you and says you're throwing everything away, because it's like you are losing, but like you're gaining like
yeah.
so much.
It's good.
Because I'm really not losing anything. Like, I'm gaining everything.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Mm,
Because even one point I went back on my yes with the Lord, because I think I fell into what the world was asking of me. And I like began to tell people like, never mind, I'm not doing it. And then I had a friend set me straight. And she's like, girl, what are you doing? She's like, you can't go back on your yes to the Lord. She's like, you have to do this. And she spoke it with so much love. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like he's so worth me losing things. Like he's so
Yeah.
worth this. He's so worth the pain and the judgment and all of the things that come with this yes, because like he's worth it. Like look what he did for me.
Mm.
And so that was like, of course I wish, because I could feel the Father's heart like when I took that back. He was like,
Yeah.
no, like come on, like let's do this together. um but I think it taught me so much more of like, Lord, you still love me when I go back,
Mm.
but like you still love me and you still have it for me. You don't take
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah.
You don't say, okay, never mind, like you didn't take it the first time. And so that was really sweet for mine and the Lord's relationship of like, okay, like I can be a little stubborn, a little silly,
Mhm.
but like he doesn't take it away, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's been a navigation for sure of like, okay, how do I like put into action with moving across the country? And it's really cool because the Lord like has had everything laid out, but and you know this, but like things like housing or like
Mhm.
financial things or like apartment stuff in Boone, like it didn't come when I gave my yes. And
Yeah.
I think that was one of the hardest things is because when I gave my yes, I expected everything to kind of fall into place. But like the
Right.
Lord has taught me so much about like he will give you your daily bread. Like he will provide like when he's supposed to. Because I didn't get housing and so I moved in like, oh my gosh, like a month I think. No,
That's crazy.
but and I got housing in Fort Worth like 2 weeks ago maybe.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I gave my yes in December. And so it's like I had to like wait at his feet of like, Lord, like I need you to show up, like I need you. And he did every single time. And like he just like brought things as I needed them. And there's so many testimonies in that I could like just go off. But
Yeah.
my point is like he just shows up on time every time and like he'll give you what you need when you need it. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
worry. And I think that's something I've never had to wait on him before. Um and I think that's something he knew I needed to learn. Because
Mm.
all of this I'm going through, I know it's preparing me for so much more.
Yeah.
Um because I think like it's showing me how to live a life of faith and like that's what I want to be known by, like by my faith and like living a life of faith. Like that's what I want me and my husband's marriage to be based off of. Like that's
Right.
what I want like my family to be known as is like a family of faith. Like when
Come
he
on.
calls, we go.
Yeah.
And so like I know he's preparing me for those things. And so waiting on him was something I had to learn. And it's still hard, but it's like it's sweet to see him show up
Yeah.
and like to see him answer
Mhm.
like when you're literally crying out to him. um and so yeah, he's just delivered every single time. um and like he does so much with a little yes. And so that's just what I've been walking in is like giving him my big yes but giving him little yeses in between.
It's good.
um, and just trusting him, like trusting his character, trusting that he's a good God, and trusting that he starts a good thing and like he sees it to completion, and like believing that, like receiving that of like, okay, Lord, like you called me, like you're
Mhm.
gonna get me there.
Right.
And like it's hard to see that, like if you're looking at a worldly perspective, because like I'm 21, like I don't have a job, like I'm
Yeah.
just taking care of the kids of the generation, and
Yeah.
the Lord, but the Lord has showed up so much in that, like he'll just bring opportunity and bring chances for me to work hard and make money, and like he's just providing, and it's like even when it looks like nothing is together, like he's holding it all together
Yeah.
and just
It's good.
providing. um I'm trying to think of what else. There's so much. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. He confirmed it so many times.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't have to. He could have just said, okay, Noel. I want you to move to forward. And he could have just like not said anything else, but
Right.
he confirmed it in worship. He confirmed it. This is one that I will share. Caroline, you know my thing with sunflowers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Lord just speaks to them or speaks to me through them all the time, like
Mm.
so much. Um, because he knows I love flowers, so like he'll like
Yeah.
give them to me. It's really sweet. And so at the corner, so at the school, so there's this big road. If you're on camera, you can see, but there's this big road, and then the school's on the left, and then kind of like staggered from it was like a big sunflower field, and like I
Wow.
didn't see that until after I gave my yes, and I was like, Lord, like this is crazy,
Yeah.
like what, and that's just a little, and you kind of, I feel like people could be like, Noel, like that's a silly thing to think it's confirmation. Like it's a sunflower field, you know? But it's like the Lord is in everything. Like literally he's in everything. You just have to look.
Yeah.
And I think like if people think, oh, that's silly, like you need to look for him in everything because he's in
Mm.
everything. And it's
That's
beautiful to see his
good.
hand in all of it. Um, yeah. And so it's just he's sweet. He confirmed it. And he continues, like literally I feel like I get confirmation every week. Like
Wow.
just seeing him provide. Um and so yeah, I'm just excited to see him continue to move.
Yeah.
And just like provide out of provide and make a way where it looks like there is no way.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even there yet. Like I know there is like hard times to come, but like I
Mm.
know there's also so much goodness. Like I feel like, and I'm saying this in faith and in confidence. Like I feel like I'm about to walk into like a big surprise party. Like I have like no idea what he has like there, but I just know it's big and it's
Come on.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like I feel like I'm just about to walk into like a party, and he's just
Yeah.
gonna love and good things, and just lessons and teach me things.
Mm.
Um, and so yeah.
I love that. I love that. I have like questions to talk about with that, but number one, you hit a lot of them. Number two, like even just the power of your testimony, that is enough to like bless so many people, convict
Yeah.
people, like call people to action, whatever it might be. I think that's so sweet. I want to go back to what you said about the sunflowers because I think that's so cool because
Mm,
um it's something I've been learning lately is like to look at things through the spiritual lens versus the physical lens because you could look at
mhm.
that physically and say, well, that sunflower field has probably been there for the past 20 years or 50 years or whatever before you were even born or whatever that sunflower field has always been there. But what's different is that you looked at it with a spiritual lens on and you invited the
Yeah.
spirit into just you driving past it and he was able to speak to you through that and it wasn't that if there was a sunflower field there that might have meant nothing to you, but because you were in tune with the spirit to hear his voice,
Mm,
you knew that that was confirmation because for someone else that wouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? But you were so in tune with him that you were able to see that through a spiritual lens versus um just like, oh well, that's cool. Like someone put that there. But no, like the Lord intentionally did that years ago, knowing that that would be your confirmation in that certain time for this specific thing. And I think that's so cool just to look back on. I think that's so special.
yeah. No, it's really sweet. It's
Yeah.
really sweet. And he does that all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and I think also like kind of what you're saying, like you just have to look at it with that lens because the spirit like wants to talk to you all the time. Like he
Yeah.
constantly wants to whisper stuff in your ear and like breathe upon things.
Mhm.
And so like I think I know that's a prayer like the Lord and the Spirit love to answer of like speak to me in everyday things. And I think I prayed that one time of like, Lord, like, because I remember I have a spiritual mama, and she was like, yeah, like the Lord speaks to me like through nature. And I was like, Lord, like, I want to hear you in nature. And I
Yeah.
prayed that, and then he started. So it's
Wow.
like it's such a sweet ask. Like he loves being asked
Mhm.
that. But yeah, it's so cool. He does it so often, and it's
I
like
love
you don't
that.
have to do that, Lord. Like you're so kind to me to like want to speak to me in that. And I saw it reminded me of this thing I saw on Pinterest the other day.
Mhm.
It was I love Pinterest, but it was sweet because it was a little like sticky note that someone had drawn on, and it said, um, "I was waiting and asking the Lord to speak to me in words but I was in what was it? I really want to find it, but I feel like that's probably not a good finding. It was something like I was asking the Lord to speak to me in words, but she was in a sunflower field, and she was like, I started to see his beauty, and he spoke to me in that.
Mm.
And then she said, I almost missed a whole conversation with him
Wow.
because I was wanting him to like audibly speak to me.
Right.
And it's like we miss so much because we're like, okay, Lord, I need to just spell it out. I need you to like, I need to hear it, you know? But it's like he loves, like he delights to speak to you, like in creation, like
Wow.
in the spirit's also funny. Like he'll speak to you, he'll speak to me through street signs, through like the most random things, through animals, through just like crazy things. But it's like you just gotta like look for him, you
Yeah,
know,
that's good.
and just be like sensitive to the spirit because like he
Mhm.
just wants to reveal so much. And it's so sweet when you catch wind of that because you're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like you're actually like letting me in on what you're doing, or you're actually like
Mhm.
showing me like things that are helping prepare me or like give me confidence. And it's like it's kind of like prophesying and stuff like that. Like it's always going to be uplifting things, you know
Come
what I
on.
mean? It's
Yeah.
going to be encouraging. And sometimes, you know, the Lord will give warnings and things, but it's like that's still life giving and kind.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it always speaks a good word.
I love
So,
that. That's so good. I think it especially as, like, people our age, it can be such a question of, like, "Was that really the Lord?" Or, like, "How do I know that that was
mm-hmm.
from the Lord?" Um, and so I think that that's so beautiful, like, you talking about that. So what would you say, I guess, to that person who's like,
Mm,
how do I know that this is from the Lord?"
yes, I love that question. Oh my gosh, I love that. Um, so I listened to this podcast. I think I sent it to you. Y'all should listen to it. It's by YWAM Fire and Fragrance Kona, and it's by Dan Bauman, and it's called Throwing Rocks with God. It's so good. But one of the things that he says it's highly overrated to be sure that it's God.
Mm,
Like it's silly to think like that you need to be 100% sure that it's God. Because like what is faith? Like literally faith is like believing in the unseen. Like it's
amen.
walking by faith and not by sight. Like it's not based off of like if I can see God, if I can hear him, if I can like touch him, you know, like it's not based off of that. It's like in my spirit, am I choosing to believe in something bigger than myself? Am I choosing to believe that, you know, am I choosing to believe in this book? Like, am I choosing
Mm,
to believe that he did what he said he did? You know, it's like you just have to choose to act in the opposite spirit. Like if you think it's not the Lord, I mean, like there will be things that will like kind of point to whether it's the Lord or not. Um, like kind of what I feel like, is it uplifting? Like, is it kind? Like, does it align with scripture? That's a
yeah.
huge like indicator, like if it's the Lord, like does it align with scripture? And also like I don't, you know, discernment is a huge
Mhm.
thing. Like, do you feel peace in your spirit? Like your spirit man like will reveal so much
Yeah.
of like, and peace is the great decider. Like if you feel peace, like that's, you know, so good.
Mhm.
But I also think like it's okay to not be 100% sure. Like I think I'm still not 100% sure I'm supposed to go to Texas,
Yeah.
but like it's not about being 100% sure. Um, it's just about trusting in him and like
Yeah.
trusting that he's good, and trusting that, you know, he's kind to speak. And so I would just say like peace is a great decider. Your word is a great decider. Um, like spiritual authorities, like your past, like if you have a question, like, okay, like I got this word from the Lord, like, is it, you know, aligning? One, ask him, but like you can seek out like pastoral, you
Yeah.
know, mentors or things like that. Like there's so many ways to know if it's him, but like truly like ask him.
Mhm.
Like if you mishear him, like he'll speak to you. Um, and if you hear him wrong and it's, leading down a bad way, like he'll correct you. Like he will like come and help you with his righteous right hand. Like, hey kid,
Yeah,
like it's okay. Like let me like help you.
that's good.
And like, because he's not just gonna like be like, oh, he heard me wrong again. Dang it. Like, let me just let
Yeah,
him go. That's not his heart. Like, he's literally the good shepherd. Like, he's going to come and, like, get you,
right.
you
That's
know?
good.
And
Yeah,
so there's so much to say about it. And I feel like I said a million things, but
I love it.
hopefully there's
No,
something
that
to
was good. That was good because I think there's
know.
so much grace and the Lord is after our heart, not us
Mm-hmm.
being able to make the right decision. And if we don't, and our heart's in the right place, then like you said, like there's so much grace. He's just coming to get us and take us to the right place. And he's so
Exactly.
kind to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if you hear him wrong, and you're like acting out something, like he's still gonna be like, oh my gosh, like she's trying to listen to me, like she's
Yeah.
trying to follow me. Like I could have this all wrong. This could all be in my head, but he's still like my girl, like she's trying, like
Yeah.
she's like following me and she's doing the best that she can. And so I think like there's like he said, there's so much grace. Like his mercies are new every single morning. Like he's just gonna support his love on you. Like if you get it wrong, like it's okay. Like we're not
Hmm.
meant to get it wrong. I mean we're not meant to get it right every single
Right,
time.
right.
Like it's okay to get it wrong. Because he's so kind and he's not like, oh man, there's so much grace
Hmm.
and love
Yeah.
from him always.
I love that. That's so good.
Mm,
Okay, this is my last real question, and it is,
let's
what would
go.
you say to the person listening who feels called to do something that's scary, and maybe other people don't support their decision, or they're just scared, they're going to be risking a lot. If they aren't hearing the Lord correctly, then they're going to like miss out on this other opportunity, whatever it is. Like, what would you say to that person, speaking from the place of life that you're at right now?
Do it.
I love
Like
that.
like like literally do it. Like
Hmm.
I think, and this is one thing I'm learning, it is so okay and necessary to do stuff for the Lord scared. Like
Yeah.
like I'm not saying fearful. I'm not saying like let fear overcome you, but like acting in the opposite spirit of like, okay, I'm afraid to go and do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because
That's so
he's
good.
worth it, and I'm gonna act in the opposite way. I'm not gonna come in agreement with this fear, but I'm still gonna do it feeling this way.
That's so good.
And so I would say like do it scared, and the Lord will fill you with bravery.
Come on.
And I really want to try to find it, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. But it's um I really was resonating with the story of Esther,
Mm,
of how she was called. The Lord gave her an invitation
yeah,
to save her people or to not.
yeah,
She had the choice and she chose to save her people, but she did it scared. Like she literally said, if I perish, I perish.
come
Like
on.
that's the heart we have to have of like, okay, Lord, like if I perish, I perish, but like it's for you, like it's for the
Yeah,
kingdom, like if me doing this even means one soul gets saved, like it's worth it.
yeah,
And so I would just say like you have to do it scared because it's like
that's
he'll
so good.
meet you and overwhelm you with so much peace. And like the blessing, not that it's about the blessing or the reward, but what you're setting yourself up for, like you will get to walk in his blessing and his favor,
Yeah,
like because
it's
of your
good.
obedience. Because he's just kind to do that. Um, and so yeah, I would just say like one, like ask him like
Mhm.
if this is what he's leading you to. Like if you've gotten a call from the Lord of like something to do or someone to talk to or a thing to step into, like ask him, like say, Lord, confirm this,
Mhm.
like reveal to me in scripture, um, have a friend like have a dream about me
Yeah,
doing this thing. Like he loves to confirm because when he confirms, he shows up and he gets the glory for it.
it's
Because it's
good.
like when I told the story of like the testimony of like worship when he confirmed it, he showed up and I got to testify and he got the glory.
That's
So
so
it's like he
good.
loves to show up because then you get to tell people about it, and like testimony means do it again, Lord. So it's like he
Come
just
on.
wants to keep doing these things for you and showing up and
Yeah.
confirming, because then you get to step in and walk into what
That's
he
so
has.
good.
I would just say like ask him to confirm it. And when he does, like write it down. Literally write it down. Like you do with your visions, because like then you have like proof.
That's so
Like
good.
when you're doubting, girl, I doubt all the time and I shouldn't. But then the Lord brings me right back to my journal of like where I've written down first accounts of when he's moved me and when he's
Yeah.
met me and when he's completely like shaken up the ground of everything.
Hmm.
And I can go back, I can be like, okay, December 5th, 2023, the Lord said this and spoke. And I can be confident because I wrote it down, because like this is like my history book with him.
Yeah.
And so write stuff down, because then you can go back to it in seasons of doubt. Um, and like just have that as encouragement for you. And so, yeah, I would
That's
just
good.
say, like, ask him and just write down the journey with him. Um, and like, just say yes. Like, you just got to give him your yes.
Hmm.
And like, you cannot care what people think. Like, we're not here to please man. We're not here to please the world. Like, we're not here to be successful in the world's eyes whatsoever.
So good.
Um, we're not here to like be in the world. We're supposed to be outside of it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think of when Mary poured out all her oil
Hmm.
at the feet of Jesus, like the world and the people thought it was so foolish. They
Hmm.
thought it was foolish. But like that was her foolish offering, and that was all
Yeah.
she had to give. And like when you give your yes, like that's your foolish offering, and like the world may not agree with you, but like you pour it out anyway.
Come on.
And so I would just say like give your yes and pour it out anyway, and like don't be afraid what the world thinks. And when the world's voice gets really loud, like just bury yourself in him. Bury yourself in Luke 9:23 through 26.
Mm.
um because that's what's going to get you through. Because like he's so worth the cost. And he's worth losing your friends or
That's good.
losing your comfort. He's just worth it all. And so I would just say give your yes scared.
That's so
So,
good. That's gonna encourage so many people. I'm so thankful for this conversation.
me too.
So for you, your yes was to go, but for some people, sometimes it's to support other people in their going. And so, is
Mm-hmm.
there any way that someone listening, or even my team, myself, that we can support you in this, whether it be like specific things that you want prayer for, or specific things that you need funds for, anything in between? Like, what can people do to support you in this?
Yeah, that means the world. Thank you so much, girl. I think like the two big things right now are prayer and like financial. Um, Prayer, I want to ask for that first and
Yeah.
foremost, like praying for protection, like in travel, because your girl is driving her little Ford all the way to Texas. So I was just
Oh.
reminded. I'm going with Celia too. So just protection for me and
Sweet.
her as we drive cross country,
Yeah.
and Wildflower. Um, and it's the name, of my car.
Yeah.
But so just like protection over my car. Um, I would say like provision financially too,
Mm.
for the Lord to bring opportunity, like for a job. Like I would love just like just a job where the Lord is there.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, for that, for discernment, what to get plugged into, where to say yes, where to say no, like surrendering my schedule. There's so much to pray for.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, we're having some technical difficulties, and Noel, her audio is giving out on us. We're having issues today, but that's okay. We hate the devil and we don't care, and we're gonna say what we need to say anyway. So if you want to support her financially, the biggest needs for that are like with her tuition and also the worship academy that she's gonna be doing, because Noelle is a worshiper. She's amazing at it, and it's such a blessing to worship with her. But if you want to give financially, those are the two biggest things you would be supporting. We're gonna put her Venmo in the link, or the link to her Venmo in the description of this video. That way you guys can support her in that way. She's also gonna do a newsletter, which I think is so sweet, to kind of update the people who are giving to her monthly or giving gifts, whatever that may be. So if you wanna be a part of that and follow along and just be encouraged by everything that she's doing, you can drop your email in the comments of this video, and she will add you guys to that list, which I think would be so sweet, and I'm personally gonna do because I would love to keep up with everything she's doing. But if you want to support her financially, that is the best way to do that. Yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty much all we have today. This has been a wonderful conversation. I can't wait to hear how this touches your guys' hearts and just how the Lord moves to this conversation. He does so much with our obedience, and it's just been such a blessing to see Noelle's journey of walking out her what the Lord has called her to do, like to be so obedient. It's just amazing. So I love you, Noelle. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, we can hear you now. Yay. But thank you so much. We love you. Thank you truly for having this conversation and sticking with us through all the technical difficulties. But that's it for this episode. We love you guys, and we cannot wait to talk to you again next Friday. Bye.